Hello, welcome to Worthy Wednesday. I am your host, Corey. Y'all, it's a little after, almost 20 after 6 on October 1st. So let me just say welcome to fall, y'all, for all my people who are literally trying to celebrate fall. But if you live in Arizona where I live, it was 100 degrees today. And I am thankful for that because that is the kind of fall I want to have. That's the kind of fall I want to celebrate. I appreciate it being, like 75 in the morning and not 98, but I still want to see triple digits. So I am 100% committed to fall still being warm. So it's like summer 2.0, it doesn't have to be as hot, but I still want it to be hot. But happy fall to everyone who is celebrating it. And also, y'all, it is now officially the third quarter of the year. I started laughing when I thought about in September I said that it was the final quarter, and I was like, no, it isn't. I did that during a live. I was like, Korea, the fall is every 3 months, 4 times. Come on, get it together. But officially, welcome to the final quarter of the year. Unfortunately, our government is in a shutdown. Lord have mercy. Y'all, what in the whole wide world is going on in the United States of America? Please, Lord, have mercy on all of us. Anyway, I digress from that. But welcome to Worthy Wednesday. This whole year, we've been talking about everyday miracles. And today, I thought how appropriate because I need a sidebar. And I need a sidebar for my regular life. And I think it's because sometimes being a parent, there are times and seasons and moments and conversations that you have to have that you're not really sure if you're even equipped to handle those conversations. But I wanted to talk about something that really helps me, and it helped me remember even today when I needed a little bit of clarity about what's really going on in my real life and how can I help guide and provide an example for my daughter who is a young adult, which is crazy to say. But I want to talk about again. Now, let me tell y'all something. When you start reading words and studying them in the dictionary, you really find out you don't know anything. And that's good for me because now I really do know what words mean because I spend a lot of time studying them. They're parts of speech, whether it's a noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb, because it makes a difference. Does the word have a prefix, something in front of the word, or a suffix, something at the end of the word? Is it a preposition that connects two thoughts together? I mean, all of these things really matter. They matter, okay? And I thought about today when I was looking at the word again, how often we say that and how often we think it means what I'm about to tell you we think it means. So if we say, oh, just try again, we're telling someone to repeat the effort that they just did, right? Now, there was a saying back in the day, I don't even know if people still say that, if at first you don't succeed, try again, right? And I used to think that made a lot of sense, but as I've gotten older, and obviously you get a little bit wiser, and when you've lived longer than 4 or 5 years on the earth, you start really paying attention to the things you do and say. More specifically to the things you do, determining that if I did A and A failed, why would I try again using the same mentality, the same skill set, the same knowledge that I just had in option A, knowing that didn't work, even though someone told me to try it again. And so I think what it comes down to is understanding what again means, right? So I don't know if you guys ever learned how to spell like this, but when I was learning vocabulary and I did the spelling bee once, our instructor for the spelling bee would tell us to take words and separate them into other words so you could put those words together. Like, for example, the word together is 3 separate words: to, get, her. And even until this day, I learned that in 3rd grade and I still spell like that. I also learned, he taught us about compound words, like what is that word made of? It's made of a suffix, C-O-M, and the word pound, P-O-U-N-D, right? So anyway, if you didn't know that, now you can start learning how to spell things. That's what I do. Anyway, it works out. So again is made up of 2 things, right? A, the letter A, which is a preposition. If y'all didn't know that, the letter A in the English language is a preposition, and it connects 2 thoughts to each other. And then gain is the last part of the word. Now, when you put A in front of G, and then you add the phonetic sounds of all of those words, that's why you have again, right? Again. But if it was a different letter, it would have a different sound. So, A can be A, eh. Anyway, many, many sounds for the letter A. However, when I was thinking about that, I was like, well, the letter A separately means it combines something. It means to, T-O, right? So I go from left to right. So I start on the left, and then the letter A in the middle, right, which is to, how it's defined, then tells me that I continue to a new direction, which is now to the right. So I go from left to right, left, A, right. Okay, anyway, I'm just trying to give you a practical example so you can understand what I'm about to say. All right, so anyway, again, right, gain, if you look it up in the dictionary, right, it means that you go from one size, stature, or measure where that then is increased. And once that is increased, you no longer have what you began with, you have more. So you gain momentum, meaning that the beginning energy exerted at the start of this task has now increased molecularly, cellularly, and also visually, because people can see that there is a change in the energy. So in my head, I really didn't think how adding a word that is signified to mean to connect things together, the first part of the sentence to the second part of the sentence, and then putting the word gain behind it would make sense. Because if you would literally define it, it would be to increase, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? But how again is used is not to increase anything, until I thought about this. Now, I'm going to tell you what again means from the dictionary perspective, and then I'm going to tell you how I got to increase, which I just explained to you how I got there, and how that makes sense when you are explaining I need to do something again. Okay, so again, in the dictionary, it is a word that is used to describe a measure of how a person, a place, a thing, an object will determine what steps need to be taken in order to continue a previous activity. Now, a lot of people will use the word again as repeat. They will define it as repeat. You do the same action, you do the same method, repeat it. You just do it over. And when I thought about how that doesn't really apply to life, because I don't want to do the same things over and over and over. I don't want to repeat the same level of discouragement. I don't want to repeat the same level of depression that I have experienced. I don't want to repeat the same broken relationship. So when people say, well, just do it being the operative word in the sentence because it's a direct object that something is going to experience when I'm telling it, when I say I'm going to do it again, I am not necessarily agreeing to repeat the same process in order to achieve the same result. So if you tell me to try something again, what I need is to know what is it that I need to do, right? So when I can use this perfectly for students as a teacher, every day the kids, I'll just tell you for high school, when I teach high school, like for example, when I teach a foreign language, so there's a lot of expectation from me as the instructor of a foreign language, and it's not my native language. So I do a lot of things again in the classroom in the sense that I repeat them. We repeat the same morning routine. There is a greeting, which is a saludos. We do the greeting, we do the Pledge of Allegiance, we do the jobs, we do our uniform checks, and then we do our cell phone put away. So that is something that I do again. I do not need to increase that. I need to repeat it. I need to repeat it because what I'm doing every single day is adding something to that morning routine that increases their vocabulary, increases their comprehension, increases their fluency in reading, writing, and speaking, right? So I do it every day again. I repeat that task. But when I am teaching something new, for example, verb conjugation, and that's one of the coolest things in Spanish, I think, is verb conjugation, I have to make decisions on what do I want to increase. Do I want to increase memorization, or do I want to increase productivity with the conjugation? So obviously for me, increasing productivity is more important. If you can spout off the endings of AR, ER, IR verbs, I'm very happy for you. But I'm more excited if you're able to conjugate an AE or IR verb properly and use it in a sentence. Like, I go to the store. Voy a la tienda. Like, I am thrilled that you can take that level of knowledge and transcend what I think you're able to do, and then you prove to me what you're actually able to do. So when I say that I need to do something again, I need to define, am I going to repeat it, or am I going to increase the knowledge that I currently have after failing or after attempting it the first time in order to put me in a better position the next time? And so I have started recently, okay? Because when you are really dedicated to learning how to become the best self that you can be based on who God has placed you on the earth to be, you really begin to examine, why am I doing certain things again? Why am I looking for approval from this particular sect of people? Why do I believe that I have to be connected to this particular group of people? Why do I continue to tolerate, communication or conversation or treatment that does not provide value to who I know I am to be? So when I say I need to do it again, I need to define what it is I'm going to do. If I am just going to repeat the behavior that I just did, then again has the same meaning that most people think it does, which is just to repeat what I just did, hoping, which is the definition of insanity, that I'm going to get a different result. But if the purpose of me doing something again, which is, remember, A is 2 and gain is increase, right? To increase my knowledge, to increase my effectiveness, to increase my maturity, to increase my leverage, to increase my knowledge, then it makes sense, because I can take the information that I just learned in doing something and go back and relearn that task in order to be more effective, thereby increasing my knowledge, effectiveness, and the end result. And so I wonder, worthy women, honestly, this is just for me because I've really been thinking about this. How many things have I done again, but only repeated them? There was no intention on me changing my behavior, changing my belief system, changing my mind, changing my mouth, changing the things that are in my heart. I just wanted to repeat it so people couldn't say I didn't try again. I had no indication of how important it is for me to take the information that I just gleaned from attempting to do something that I've never participated in, whatever that might be, and saying, hey, here are all the elements that worked. Here are the ones where I still need more knowledge, but how can I put those two things together and then go and increase my knowledge by trying it again? I don't know if you guys have ever considered how important it is when I do something again. I think we only look at it in the sense of, this is a routine and I have to keep doing it because this is what I do. For example, we go to work every single day again. We just repeat the same thing over and over and over every single day. I have the same cup of coffee. I have the same breakfast. I don't wear the same clothes. I wear different clothes, but I get up with the same intention to go to work and do exactly what I did yesterday. Again, I go to repeat it. But when have I ever in my life made a decision that I need to make a different choice? Not just with my mind, with my mouth, and with my actions. And by making a different choice, I am, instead of repeating something, I am now going to increase. Where, Kari, do you increase in these things? Well, you increase in knowledge, you increase in maturity, you increase in stamina, you also gain wisdom, you gain experience, you gain perspective that you did not have prior to you using that information out of an attempt. You now have a different perspective on what I can do differently. I think one of the best and most practical examples of this is education. What kids learn in kindergarten begins a schema, is what they call it in cognitive psychology, where knowledge is continually poured into that schema until all of the parts are filled in. That then goes to my long-term memory. And when I go to first grade, when the teacher talks about primary colors and then she mentions them, I'm able to pull all the way from long-term to my short-term because I had a color song in kindergarten that taught me the primary colors. I didn't know that's what they were called in kindergarten, but that's what they're called in first grade. And now I have added to that schema, right? So I learned it again, but what happened to me is I increased. I gained more knowledge. I gained more insight. I now have more information available to me to make better choices. You guys, think about that for just a minute. What would happen if I looked at my life the way school is set up for us to go from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, and then go to college if you so choose, or go to community college, or go to trade school, or go into the workforce? What I've learned for the last 12 years, if I took that information and recognized that I am now just adding information to what I already know, we would not have all of the discrepancies that we see. I'm not even talking about in other people's lives. I'm talking about in your own life. If you would take for one moment to examine the things that you have actually walked through and determine if I had made a different decision, or pulled from long-term memory the schema that has something to do with the experience that I am currently living in, which is called LIFE, how different would my choices be? Because I would be able to gain knowledge, insight, instruction, and correction. And because I'm able to gain those things, of course, if I have to repeat something again, I'm going in a totally different person. Think about that in relationship to when you go to school. You're the same person every year you go. You're the same person. But your knowledge, your experience, and the depth of your understanding increases every year. And why do we not take that same mindset when it comes to life? So I'm asking you, how much longer do you want to repeat certain things, situations, circumstances, relationships, conversation? How often do you want to repeat those again? Like where you just keep reliving the same day, like Groundhog Day, over and over and over and over and over again, and it makes zero sense for you to even go through that. How about you start repeating things again so you can increase in knowledge, increase in expectation, increase in wisdom? I want to gain, to increase, to become more than what I was when I first started something. I think that's the purpose of a game. So I hope this week, before you do something and you've said, oh my gosh, I've done this again for the 49th time, I hope you ask yourself, did I just repeat a cycle? Or did I decide to do something to increase my knowledge, my experience, my expertise, and honestly, my life? And if you can answer yes to the latter, I wouldn't be surprised how many miracles you'd see that day. Y'all have a great week and happy fall.